a good friend.
Hello. Welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. Now, as a disclaimer, this channel is for entertainment purposes. This is these opinions, they're mine. Okay, and slandering people is not what I'm here to do. Okay, I do speculate a little, but I also like to back up speculation with facts. And I will in this one as well. So let's just get started. Now, you know, folks, when I put out, you can specifically look for my videos. When it says timeline, you know I'm about to get serious with the facts. See, my timelines, they paint the picture themselves. I don't have to do a whole lot of, I don't have to talk a lot around the dates of events. Okay, kind of, it tells a story all in itself. But sometimes I do need to dig in deeper. Sometimes people want to question facts in my timeline, and I'll give you a quick deep dive on this one on how I get those facts. But along with that deep dive, I'm going to blow your mind, and it's not hard. It's not hard. I'm not saying it's not hard to blow your mind. That's hard. That's difficult. It's not hard for me to put this thing together. And in fact, it's becoming so easy for me to put this thing together. I'm really questioning why nobody else has put this thing together. Really got me scratching my head a little bit. Here recently, we've been talking about Kopacka. Now, I've alluded to Mr. Kopacka being involved in this thing, and I don't have him specifically in the timeline except for his search warrant on the 14th and his unaliving on the early morning hours of the 15th. Okay, and a lot of people don't like for you to get into Kopacka. Well, I can tell you in this video why they don't want you to really deep dive Kopacka. Because if you start applying some investigative work to Kopacka and the Kohberger case, it's so simple, it's almost easy. Okay, so how do you know that, Pavarotti? How do you do this stuff, Pavarotti? Are you being real with us, Pavarotti? Yeah, I'm being real with you. I'm telling you facts. I'm painting a picture of a story that happened. This happened, y'all. You want to see some receipts? Okay, I'll give you some receipts. Sit back and let me receipt away. Okay, so here we go with some redacted warrants. And we're going to start with this one, because this is a steady progression. And when I'm done with these, whoa. But you'll see this one here, State of Idaho, Indiana, State of Idaho, in and for the County of Latah. And you'll see the case number there doesn't show a case number. It's redacted. Okay, so they've redacted a little bit, but you know, it's weird. I think the first time I looked at this, there was more redactions. I think they've unredacted some things, but I don't know. Let's go through this and look though. And you'll see this is Detective Mowry. All right, so we all know Detective Mowry now from the hearing held a few weeks back. And Detective Mowry must have been very involved in this case, because you'll see here, this was the 26th day of November, 2022, and he is filing a search warrant with Amazon. Okay, so this is the day that he files the warrant. And you can see down here where it gets to description of property, what he's looking for from Amazon. So when you file a search warrant, you have to specify what it is that you're wanting them to go through and look for. So he's specifically looking for an ASIN with a serial number, a K-bar full-size U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife, an ASIN with another number, and a K-bar 1217S. Okay, so this is on November 22nd. This is the initial warrant that he files with Amazon. Very interesting. Okay, this is page 2. And let's go ahead and we'll read this here. It says, any peace officer authorized to enforce or assist in enforcing any law of the state of Idaho, Lawrence Mowry, having given me proof upon oath this day, showing probable cause, establishing grounds for issuing a search warrant, and probable cause to believe that the property referred to and sought in or upon said premises consists of information for the crime of homicide in the possession or control of Amazon related to the sales of the following items for the period of January 1st, 2022. Look, they got 20222, just like I did in my timeline the other day. Weird. But you can see he's listing out what it is that he's looking for. Once again, this is just a continuation of the 26th warrant. And he's looking for down here this ASIN serial number K-bar full-size U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife. Okay, so he's looking for a specific fighting knife with a specific number. So that's what the ASIN number is. Okay. And then you can see he's looking for that specific sheath for that knife, which is interesting because there's a sheath left at the crime scene, but they're looking hard for a knife and a sheath. So I don't know what to make of that. Okay, and then you'll see this is page 3 where Judge Megan Marshall signs the warrant. So you can see she signed this warrant on the 26th day of November 2022 at 1:30 p.m. So that's the initial warrant for Amazon. Now here's where things start to get interesting. And you can see here, this is a list of events. Okay, so you can see it says at the top here, follow along, I, Detective Lawrence Mowry, being duly sworn to do hereby state the following information is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. He's employed by the Moscow Police Department in the official position of forensic detective. Okay, so we know that Mr. Mowry is a forensic detective, not just a technology detective. He's a forensic detective. All right, affidavit. Has been a trained and qualified peace officer for 12 years. Now, on November 26th, I obtained a search warrant for Amazon. The warrant was served on November 26, 2022 by email, fax, email, etc. But then on December 8th, I received an email from Amazon which contained the requested information. So when I put on the timeline that on December 8th, the Amazon warrant came back, and I only present the facts on my timeline, that is where I get that from, okay? Now, you can see it continues though. All inventory was prepared for all the items received. An inventory was prepared for all the items received. Now, wait just a minute. Wait just a minute. Now it's starting to get a little weird. An inventory was prepared for all the items received. Well, do you prepare an inventory for faxes and emails? Because it says right there, I received an email from Amazon which contained the requested information. You don't prepare an inventory for an email, okay? You prepare an inventory for all the items received, which means the actual items, the physical items, folks. So the information received was placed into evidence at the Moscow Police Department. Further, your affiant saith not. So the information received was placed into evidence at the Moscow Police Department, right? The information. So that was the email from Amazon. But an inventory was prepared for all the items received, okay? And that was Mr. Lawrence Mowry. Now, what's weird about this one? You see the date down here? This was on December 14th. Okay, so he got this email back from Amazon on December 8th. And he's going through this progression. All right, November 26th, he filed for the search warrant. He got the email back that contained the requested information on December 8th. Then he prepared an inventory for all the items received. And why is he doing all this on December 14th? Did it just take him 6 days to actually go and start documenting things? I don't think so. I think something else happened. Let's take a look. Okay, so when we look at this one's a little bit different. I, Detective Lawrence Mowry, the officer by whom this warrant was executed, do certify the appended inventory contains a true and detailed account of all property taken by me. Taken by me. Now remember, property taken by me, what do you mean? You just got an email from Amazon. Huh. Or officers, or other officers, pursuant to this warrant. And that this warrant and property have been duly returned before Judge Megan Marshall at 9 o'clock a.m. this 14th day of December 2022. Huh. This warrant and property have been duly returned. Now this is at 9 o'clock a.m. on this 14th day of December 2022. I certify under penalty of perjury pursuant to the law, the state of Idaho that's foregoing is true and correct. Now this again was on December 14th, 2022. So what is he talking about? He went out and he actually gathered property, him and other officers pursuant to this warrant on the 14th day of December, and he got this to, it must have been the 13th day, or he did it early that morning because he got it to Megan Marshall by 9 o'clock a.m. Huh. How would he have done that? Very strange. Let's keep going. Okay, now here is the property that, look right here, was found and taken. This isn't an email, this is actual property that was found and taken, and the location within or upon said place and or persons are as follows. Now look over here. The location and persons, they're redacted, so it doesn't tell us that it's Brent Kopacka. We're going to have to figure that out for ourselves, but I think we can pretty easily. But what did they find there in Kopacka's apartment? Well, they found ASIN number. There you see it. And then underneath that, you see they found a K-bar full-size U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife. That's interesting. And then they found this K-bar 1217S, and then that's its number. So this is stuff they actually went into the apartment and they found and they took. Very interesting. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking if on December 14th before 9 a.m. they implemented this search warrant into Kopacka's apartment and they found these items, well then why was Mr. Kopacka not eliminated until, much later that evening, even the early morning of December 15th? Why wouldn't they just have eliminated him right here when they were in his apartment before 9 a.m. on December 14th finding these items? Well, let me show you. Okay, so right here you'll see this warrant is dated, see right here, December 14th, 2022. Here's the peace officer that, went in and implemented the warrant. And they've redacted, the presence of who this was made of and, all this personal information. This is all redacted, but look right here. Isn't this interesting? A copy hereof was left on this date in a conspicuous place in the place searched, there being no person present during said search. So, Wow, that's eye-opening. So they went into Kopackas' apartment on December 14th, well before 9 a.m. with a search warrant. They found the K-bar knives, or the knife in the knife sheath, and he wasn't there. Nobody was there. But a copy of the warrant was left in a conspicuous place in his apartment. So everybody wonders why Brent Kopacka went mental the night of December 14th to the point to where law enforcement unalived him. Well, what could have made him go mental? I don't know. Maybe getting home to his apartment and finding his knives gone and his apartment ransacked, and laying there on the table, he looks at a warrant, a search warrant for his property. So do you think he assumed that he was being implicated at that moment? And that's why he started to freak out? And then later that evening, they went back to his apartment to arrest Mr. Kopacka, or at least take him into custody for questioning. And that's when the standoff ensued, and that's when they unalived Mr. Kopacka. So very, very interesting there, isn't it? Now, how do we know that's a fact? Well, let's keep going. You see, this right here is an order to seal. Okay, so based upon the motion to seal search warrant and related documents filed herein, the court does hereby confirm and order that the affidavit for search warrant, including any exhibits, search warrant, return to search warrant, including the inventory of items seized, and the order are confidential, exempt from disclosure, and they're sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1 for the reasons stated in said motion and until March 14, 2023, or further order of the court, whichever occurs first. Now, what's important about this? Take a look at this, folks. So ordered this 15th day of December 2022 at 12:04 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay, this is exactly 10 hours after they unalived Kopacka in his apartment. They issue a warrant sealing and redacting everything. So that's why it's so hard to find things on Kopacka, the search warrant for his apartment. It's all been sealed, and it's right there in our faces. And the dates and the times tell the story. All the other things, back up the story, but the dates and the times tell the story. So if you had any questions whether or not Mr. Kopacka was involved or not, well, that should answer them, because this information that I'm speaking to you about and the receipts that I'm giving you, they're in the Kohberger Idaho court docs. So if you're wondering whether this has anything to do with the Kohberger case, I would suggest that, yeah, it does, or it wouldn't be in the Kohberger docs. So now, if you have any doubt in your mind whether or not Mr. Kopacka is involved in this case, I doubt you have any doubt in your mind at this point. So, in the future, though, we're going to dive into a couple of other aspects. I mean, I've got so much to share with y'all. I just have very little time, and these videos aren't easy to make, especially me. Any of those that have been with me for a long time know that I am a complete amateur when it comes to making videos. Now, I can speak, I can talk, always have been able to do that. But as far as the technical aspect, yeah, it's it's challenging for Pavarotti. But figured it out as I go. I'm not stupid. I can figure things out. But here's the thing. There's two subjects that I'm going to have to really dive in for you. One is the DNA evidence. Been mentioning that here lately, and everybody's starting to freak out, and they want to get into the pictograms and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do a video here soon, and I'm going to explain, because initially it did seem very likely that law enforcement found their guy and manufactured evidence to get their guy, and that's what I had thought for a long time. But now, seeing all the facts of this case and really vetting things out. I know they didn't get to Kopacka before the 19th of December. They just didn't. They most certainly were nowhere near getting to, did I say Kopacka? I meant Kohberger. They were nowhere near getting to Kohberger on November the 20th, okay? On November the 20th, they submitted a DNA profile to CODIS. Now, everybody's getting confused with the initial DNA profile that they submitted to CODIS and the DNA profile that was sent to Othram Labs to start the genetic genealogy sham. Okay, that thing is a sham. Okay, very different things there, okay? See, the initial profile made from the DNA that they obtained from the knife sheath was just a simple 10 marker profile. All right, that's all they need is 10. They have these 10 main markers, and that's what's put into CODIS. And it's I'm sure it's complicated, but it's not that complicated because the investigative genetic genealogy thing needs hundreds of thousands of markers. The one they put into CODIS only needs 10. They don't need a whole lot to generate that 10 marker. And when they put that into CODIS on November 20th, that DNA, that profile it's locked in. Okay, so at that point, they're looking for somebody to match that locked in profile. They're not going to go and find DNA on something else and then be able to go back and somehow change the profile that's in CODIS. That system is, once it's in there, it's in there. There's no changing it. There's no manipulating that one. So when they got Kohberger's dad's DNA and they ran it against that 10 marker system in CODIS, it showed he was a likely match. So they arrested Kohberger and then they swabbed him and then they got a 10 marker system, matched it perfectly. So it was Kohberger's DNA on November 20th when they didn't know who Kohberger was. So the DNA was not planted. Okay. It's my opinion that the knife sheath was planted. And I'm going to get into a lot more detail about this. And when I say the knife sheath was planted, I'm not saying that these folks are so smart they were planting a knife sheath with his DNA on it to implicate him. No, they were planting the guy's knife sheath. And I don't believe it was even Kohberger's. I think Kohberger just had handled the thing. They were planting the guy's knife sheath because it belonged to the guy. They had no idea about DNA or fingerprints or anything else. They planted his knife sheath, and then they made a plan for the guy to be in the area during the time of the atrocity. And it's easy for a drug dealer to get one of his users to be in the area at the time of the atrocity because all he has to do is tell them, hey, if you want your stuff, be here exactly at this time to pick it up. And folks, if they want their stuff, they're going to listen to their dealer. So they plant the guy's knife sheath. They tell him to be at their house at a certain time. Now they got a patsy. Real simple. Not a hard thing to do. And I believe that's what took place in this case. But I will keep an open mind. I believe Kohberger is innocent based on that and based on the fact that they don't hire out. But I will keep an open mind. I may find something else that changes my mind and makes me believe somehow that he was involved with that group. But until I do that, I'm going to stick to the facts and I'm going to stick to my investigation. Because I am not a Kohberger and I am not a guilter. And let me explain the difference that I've learned, okay? The difference between being somebody who is investigating a case with an open mind and letting the facts lead him and somebody who is and I had to learn what the heck a guilter and Kohberger was because I knew the terms, I knew what it meant, but I didn't really understand its total veracity until, you do what I do. But see, a Kohberger is somebody that regardless of the evidence shown, they believe that Mr. Kohberger is not only innocent, but he is an angel. Okay, they believe he's an angel. He's a PhD student. He's he can't do anything wrong in their eyes. And that is incorrect. And then you've got the guilters who believe he's the devil. No matter what evidence you show him, he can't do anything right in their eyes. But if you're open-minded and you follow the facts, then you will see somebody who is not perfect by any means, but it doesn't mean he committed the crime. Okay, it means he is a perfect person to set up for the crime. Or more to the point, he is an associate of the perfect person to set up for the crime, folks. But when we get into the drug angle of this, everybody wants to freak out if they're a pro-burger about Mr. Kohberger's drug use. Okay, so I'm going to have to do, and I've already done several videos on this, but I'm going to have to do another one that really breaks down Mr. Kohberger's drug use. And y'all don't want to believe he was doing drugs because you're thinking that he is an angel, and drug use demeans a person. You don't want to think of him in a demeaning way. But let me tell you one reason that people do drugs, okay? I'm just going to hit this real quick. Number one, he'd been to rehab twice. I want you to go find somebody who has been in AA for a considerable amount of time, or maybe NA, the Narcotics Anonymous. And they're going to tell you, regardless of the drug that you abused, the one that you're addicted to, there's certain rules you have to follow if you don't want to fall back into an addictive pattern. One of those rules is you can't use any substances, any mind-altering substances. Drug addicts will tell you that even though they weren't alcoholics, they cannot drink, because when they drink, it dulls their mind and it lowers their inhibitions, and they're more likely to make the decision to use than if they were sober. So anytime you see somebody that's been to rehab twice and you start hearing about them going to the bars and having a few drinks, then you can bet right there they're on a downward spiral, because they're not supposed to do that. They start off by going to the bar and having a few drinks, and then it progresses to something else. I'm not saying Mr. Kohberger went back to heroin. He would probably have tried to avoid that at all costs. But when Mr. Kohberger was using drugs, that was the time in his life, if you look closely, that he was the most social. Okay, that's when he had the most friends, the most personal interactions that we know of. Now, what is one of the reasons people want to use illicit substances? It's not just to get high or the effects of the substances. If you're somebody like Mr. Kohberger, who is socially awkward, substances are his bridge to social interactions. And he remembered that from back when he was an addict. And he probably wanted those feelings again. He started with alcohol, moved over into another substance, not heroin, methamphetamine, because there's no cocaine up there now. It's all methamphetamine, okay? Tons of it. And that's a stimulant. That could allow him to continue his studies, but it would slowly put him on a downward spiral. Certainly doesn't mean that he eliminated anyone. But I'm going to do a video and I'm going to really break that down for you, because that's an important aspect of this. And if you can't even open your mind to the fact that there are reasons somebody like Mr. Kohberger would use, then you're not opening your mind to the facts of the case, or even the facts of life, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to demean you. I'm just trying to help you. That's all I'm trying to do with this, is I'm trying to help y'all. And I'm trying to find the truth. And you know what? I'm getting closer every day. But again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, your thoughts, your criticisms as well. If you post criticisms, I don't care how mean they are, I'm not going to get mad at you. If you go and you make a video, though, and you try to make old Pavarotti look dumb, well, then I'm probably going to respond with a video that's not real flattering, even though I really like, just for example, Twizzlestick. He's been commenting on my videos for a long time. I value his opinion. He does have some interesting thoughts. He does a good job on a lot of things. He kind of goes sideways on a few, in my opinion, but that's okay. We all do. But until next time, though, folks, let me tell you this. Pavarotti, he's out.